Hello everybody, hello and welcome to Three Counties Live. Well, or is it Three Counties Almost Live? We've had a wonderful preparation to prepare for this stream here at Fi Tilbury's workshop, and unfortunately just on the night everything all fell over. So we're actually recording this and putting it out a bit later on. So tonight is all about an introduction to a couple of jewellery making courses with Fi Tilbury. I'll come on to Fi shortly. But we're based out over in the Fold, which is just outside of Worcester. Now, for the people that haven't been here, the Fold's a very interesting place full of an eclectic mix of people with different creative studios, cafes and a few things going on. So I just thought I'd show you a little.
The Fold is a not-for-profit community promoting sustainable living and healthy lifestyles based on the Hereford Road just outside of Worcester. The Artisan Village is an eclectic mix of independent shops, a cafe and creative working studios, plus it holds regular craft and produce markets as well as offering venue hire. Fi's workshop, Studio 4, can be found near the cafe, which she shares with textiles artist Katie, and their studio is a haven for all those seeking handmade items made with love and joy, each one delicately created and bursting with colour, so well worth a visit. Access from Worcester, Malvern or Hereford is just a short drive, and for those coming further, Junction 7 on the M5 or Junction 1 on the M50 won't take much longer. Plus, the sat-nav will take you right to the door.
So here we are, as I say, with Fi. Fi's joining us and she's going to tell us a bit more about the life here at the Fold and the studio and some of the things that go on. What do you get up to here?
So we joined the Fold 3 years ago. I share the studio with my friend Katie, who sits on the window side of the studio. I have my little space just to the side of me. And because I make jewellery, I don't need a huge amount of space to make my jewellery. What we do in the studio is we both make our own work here. We run workshops from the studio, and we also showcase a lot of other people's work as well. We have probably about 20 to 25 other makers work at the studio as well. The onus being on supporting handmade and local, which is very, very important to us. We think that people should buy a little less, that's come from abroad and maybe focus more on, we would hope that people would do that rather than should. So we have a range of other people's work in the studio, which includes candle makers, soap, other jewellers, ceramics, cards, prints. So that's what goes on in the studio.
So it's very much a place for people to come and visit for ideas, for gifts for themselves or for friends and family?
Yeah, it's very much a place where we would hope that people would come for gifts. But personally, the great thing about the studio for me is that I'm very undisciplined at home and the studio's enabled me to kind of take on a much more disciplined approach to my work. So I make my own pieces, but I also do quite a lot of commission work for other people, which includes recycling old jewellery. So I've very much enjoyed projects this year where people have brought me either gold or silver pieces, and I've melted them down and then recreated created new pieces for them. Some of them have been extremely poignant, like a bangle commission that I did for someone, which included a bit of her granny, a bit of her dad, and a bit of herself. It was a really lovely piece to do.
I think that's probably the thing, isn't it? There's a lot of jewellery that's inherited and passed down through the family, which is nice or contains nice pieces, but the contemporary style has obviously changed. So it's really nice to recycle something and make it more contemporary and more modern to suit the age of the person that's inherited it.
Yeah, and it's also creating a piece of jewellery that they actually will wear, because you know, if you've got your like a granny's ingot and your dad's tie pin, you're not going to be wearing those. And I mean, I had another lady come and she had rings that had been given to her when she was an 18-year-old, and they were the kinds of jewellery that you may have bought in Ratner's or somewhere like that. So I melted those down and made her a stack of rings, and hopefully she's wearing them now. So you know, gone from something that was just lying around for years and years to something that she'll actually wear.
Nice. And what about your own work then? Do you want to tell us sort of, is there a range of styles that you do, or is it sort of a particular style that you're known for?
Yeah, so my jewellery, generally speaking, is very kind of organically produced. I don't necessarily always do drawings. It just kind of evolves as I make it, and that's how I like to make the jewellery. I do have a couple of ranges. One of them is my large leaf collection, and then there's a little leaf collection, and then I've been focusing also on, and I don't really know what to call it. It's like a rectangular pendant, and I use that in various different forms. I call it a platter. That's probably not a good name for it. I've got to think of a better name for it. And yes, words that I like to use are things like splat, blob, and
Well, they mean something to somebody.
yeah. So they're not. I think I need to have better names for my work.
Fabulous. Well, I mean, we're obviously here tonight to talk about the two particular workshops that have been very popular in the past, and I'm sure will continue to be so. What sort of stories have you got about people that have been to the workshops and the sort of things they've done? Let's talk about the lost wax process initially.
Yeah. Okay. So the lost wax workshop tends to be the more popular workshop that people go to. I've had people, generally they make rings, but I have had a couple of ladies, yes, that came and did pendants. So you can see on the screen various examples of rings that my students have made. So you get people coming either that they want to learn a new experience, or I've had people that have come and made their wedding rings, or I've had a couple of couples, such as this one, that came and made their engagement rings, and yeah, everyone, they've just been lovely people that have come and joined the classes. Yeah.
So you get a real mix of people then who come for different reasons, as well as creative, as it were.
Yeah, all sorts of reasons, and most of them say it's very therapeutic and very relaxing. So not only do they enjoy the cake that I make, I'm probably bigging it up too much. No, I quite often say, I don't know whether I'm kind of imposing my lemon drizzle cake on you, but I have had good comments about it.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
so it's not only the class, they enjoy the cake and the coffee and the ambience, and I had a granny and granddaughter come, and it was for a 16th, and the granny made a ring for the granddaughter, and the rings fit together. I had a couple of friends that came, they'd been friends for over 20 years, and they each made a ring, but they wanted their rings to fit into each other, so that was really important to them. So
nice.
Yeah, all kinds of little stories, and it's just lovely to see. Yeah.
Okay, well, so let's actually look at the first process then, the lost wax process.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through it?
Basically, you would start off with wax, which is not. It has this very small hole size, and you would size the wax to your specific ring size. So everyone always starts off by measuring their finger, and then this little device here, which is a ring sizer, has like a nifty blade. Nifty blade on it, and people take it down to their ring size rather, and very, very relaxing just doing this. And then once they've taken it down to whichever size they want, the next stage will be to carve your ring. So I've got different types of wax here. Once you get into the wonderful world of wax, the possibilities are endless. So most of the students will use blue wax. Occasionally they use the green, but the difference being that you've got various different colours. The only ones I've got here are turquoise, green and blue. Are the different hardnesses of the wax. So the blue is the softest wax that you can use. Then you've got turquoise, which is medium hard, and then you've got green, which is the hardest of all of them. The reason for this being that if you carve into the green wax, it's generally used for more complicated carvings. So some people do all kinds of elaborate carvings, such as, for instance, dragons and snakes and that kind of a thing. And the green one gives you the ability to be able to carve very sort of intricately into the wax. In the workshop, generally speaking, people don't have the time to be able to be that elaborate. So they normally do reasonably simple designs, and also because it's aimed at beginners, it's just getting a feel for using the wax. So I've had, as you can see from some of the pictures that were on, some people do reasonably elaborate designs, but quite often we get away with cheating a little bit. And the cheats that we use are, we use pink wax to form other little things that you might want to stick onto your final wax ring. And there's this really lovely wax here, which is a bit like people describe it as baby bell wax. So you scoop out a bit of that, and that's you can either form like little blobs or form various different shapes, or you can use it to stick shapes onto your wax master once you've carved. The starting point after carving your ring, so you will have sized it, and then is to take the wax down. So different ways of doing this. You can either use sandpaper and carve down, take your ring. So this, you can also your wax. So you can take down your wax with the file. So that's another method some people to use, and some people feel comfortable just using the file and paper the entire thing. And the other way is to use a blade, and basically you take off your wax as if you were paring down a potato. I found that some of the younger students find this a very interesting concept, as that I'm not sure how much potato paring they do. So anyway, so that's basically you're whittling down your wax, and you whittle it right down until you get to this point. Sorry, I wasn't in the camera shot then. So it's nice and thin and small, or some people prefer chunkier rings. This is one somebody did do and they left it behind, and it's sort of whittled down to be reasonably thick. And what she did was she put lots of granulations on it with the wax pen, which is just here. I haven't heated this wax pen, but that's very enjoyable as well. Once you get used to using the wax pen, you can, hang on, don't think that's warm enough yet. So this wax pen is also used for breakages. So if you are too kind of like heavy-handed with your wax, then you can always repair breakages with the wax pen. Once you have your finished ring, what happens to it then? Well, so you would leave your ring with me at the studio, and I will then post the rings, all of the rings, to the caster in Birmingham in the Jewellery Quarter. And from there, what the caster does is he will sprue up all the rings, so they get put on a little, it's like a wax stalk, and then they get put onto something called a sprue tree, and they all get sprued up onto this sprue tree, and then they get put into a canister, and then what happens is he pours something called investment over all the wax pieces, master rings or whatever it is that goes in there, and that investment canister then gets put into a kiln. The wax all melts off. What gets left is the mould of your ring, and then he injects the molten silver. In the case of the cast that I go to, he uses a centrifuge, and the silver then becomes liquid, and it gets put into the mould, and then comes out as the silver version of your ring. So every single little dent and scratch and everything that you have done on that ring gets passed as per the images that you can see.
And do they come back sort of polished and shiny, or are they matte and you have to finish them off here?
So they get finished. So I hand finish all the pieces. So some of them are tumbled, and some of them I finish in satin. So I will give a choice to you in terms of whether you want them to be shiny or whether you want them to be matte. I always quite like rings to be matte. Eventually they will end up coming back they will end up being shiny anyway, because when you wear rings, the oils in your skin will turn them shiny eventually anyway. But it's always quite nice if they're matte as a starting point, because it's different. But yeah, the sprue has to be cut off, so they're de-sprued, and then they are polished from there.
And how long does this whole process take? Yeah,
it sort of, depending on how quick the caster is, it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks. It just depends on that.
So it's a fairly long process then. It's not an instant in the afternoon. So you design the rings, to make the rings in the afternoon or morning or whatever. But it's a few weeks, so just worth keeping in mind. The other thing worth keeping in mind is obviously doing this video, there is going to be a discount code towards the end of the video for people that are interested in booking a course before the end of December 2023. So those people who are interested in this process and making some jewellery for whoever, friends, loved ones or whatever, there will be a bonus worth watching the video for. So shall we now go on to the stacking rings?
Normally I work sort of in three places. I work at my jewellery bench, at the table, and then over there as well on the worktop. So if you come for a stacking rings workshop, then you will do the same. So the starting point with this one, and I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, is you'll measure your finger. So you use one of these to measure your finger. Presumably, I'm presuming that the finger's been measured, and then the next step would be to cut your piece of metal. So you'd go to the bench, but in this case I've brought a peg over here, and then you would saw your piece of silver. So it's usually silver wire that I use, So once you've sawed your piece of silver wire, and normally we start with smooth wire, as we progress, you can have the choice of using this bobble wire, or there's also a very, very glitzy type of wire as well that you can use, and I cannot remember what it's called at this present moment. Some people like to do a mixture of the 3 different types of wire, but and some people just prefer to stick to this. As you go on, once you progress with your rings, some people quite like to put little granulation, so little blobs onto the ring, so we form a blob. Or some of them like to put like little square bits or bits and bobs on. So there is the option to do that as well. Normally, most people make anywhere between 3 to 4 rings. I've got a very nifty device here, which you can form your ring with. So it's like a pair of pliers, but it's got a kind of like indentation. So it's really good for, sorry, I'm doing it really badly myself at this present moment, for creating your ring shape. Done this very, very badly. So basically what you want to do is get your the 2 ends to meet, and it doesn't matter if the ring is completely and utterly misshapen and wonky. You just want to make sure that they touch. So you want the 2 bits of metal to touch. So fundamentally, making it a circle, once you can make a circle, you can pretty much do anything. So you can go on to making bangles, you can go on to making chain, and you can do all sorts. So this workshop is very, very much aimed at someone who has never ever done any jewellery making before at all. And again, I've had quite good feedback with this one. People enjoy it. Normally I have a maximum of 2 people at the class. I'll do it for 1 to 2 people, only because of the space and the facilities that we have here. At a push, I will have 3 people at the class, and I will be having 3 ladies join me in December for the class. 2 of them I think are going to be making bangles, and 1 of them is going to be making rings, but she wants the rings to hang off a necklace. While I was talking, I should have put this ring in the pickle. So I've got a jar here, which is sustainable, eco-friendly pickle. I think it's made of citric acid. So basically it's a solution that cleans your metal. So at all points you want your metal to be clean before you go on to solder it, because if you've got any oils from your skin or anything on the metal, it won't solder well. So hopefully it's been in there for long enough. So once you take it out of the pickle, oh, my tool's in the way, you then stick it in some water, which I've just put here. I'm warming up the pickle with some boiled water. You can use all sorts of things. You can use like a crock pot, or you can buy some pickle pots, and but they're very expensive. They're like a couple of £100. I get by doing this, and it's nice and small. So I tend to boil the kettle, put a glass jar into the hot water, which warms up the pickle and then speeds up the process. So once you've got your piece of metal nice and clean, the next step is to, what I've got here is, this is borax, and it's called flux. So you then I've put a bit of water in there, and then you get a nice amount of flux there by swizzling it around, and then you get your brush, you paint it on your joint, which hopefully is together enough, and then you pick up solder pallium. In this case I am using a hard solder. You can also place your ring on top of the solder pallium, so hopefully it won't fly off. And then you heat up your piece. You go round your ring nice and gently, because you don't want your pallium to blow off the piece, or what happens is the flux starts to puff up, and then sometimes you lose your pallium. And you're keeping a nice even amount of heat going around the metal, so that you're not focusing on one bit only and then melting that bit or reticulating it. So you can see it's getting a nice glow now, and the solder has nicely melted into the joint. So I don't want to put this in directly in the jar, because I don't want to, I'm always worried that the glass is going to crack. So I'll just quench it in the water, and then you can see it's oxidized, so it's gone quite black. So that then goes into the pickle, and while you're pickling it, what you would be doing is making your next one. So this one here is one that I made with this twisty wire. As you can see, it's quite oxidized. So eventually it's not quite as glitzy and glittery as this seems, and because I've had it in the studio, it's gone a bit black, because what happens is when you have your silver pieces out, they oxidize, and that's another one that I've kind of made or formed. They're just example pieces, and these are a couple of my stacking rings that I sell. This one's got loads of granulations on top of it, and that one's got a little kind of tube setting. Sometimes I put stones in, and sometimes I leave them without stones. So it's possible that you could make quite a granulated piece like this as well in the workshop. But what you'd end up with is a stack of 4 different rings. So once the ring has cleaned up, which it hasn't yet, so you want you want this to be reasonably warm, because then it cleans up better, and it's probably cooled down now. Then what you would do is you would clean it in the water, dry it. I'm just going to dry it on my apron. And then you would you want it to be nice and dry before we go any further. You'd use the mandrel. So you want it to be dry as well before you put on the mandrel, because you don't want your mandrel to go rusty. And you can pretty much push it down on the mandrel to form the ring. One thing I've forgotten is my mallet. So you then will form it on the mandrel. Which is a very wonky circle at this present moment. Right, so in this case I've made a reasonably big ring. So you formed your ring, and the next thing you want to do is you want to file the solder, which is quite lumpy on the joint. So you'll give it a good filing with the jewellery files. Which I use coarse one on it first. I mean, my jewellery tutor always said that you need to use your files this way and not go back and forth. There's always a temptation to do that. So yeah, anyway, I always think of her every time I do this. So that's basically it. You have your ring. Of course you want to clean it more, but for speed I won't put it back in the pickle again. And then you'd go on from there to possibly use the this kind of wire, or you could use this one, or you could just make a set of these and then add other elements to them, such as little pieces of metal like this you could add to your ring, or yeah, whatever you want. The difference between this and the lost wax is that you have a much more delicate set of rings, but also that you'll be able to take your rings away with you on the day. I also have a polishing a drill with a polishing bit on it, so you would polish your ring as per yours, how you want it, whether you want it shiny or whether you wanted it satin. This, as I said, I am having a lady come in later next month. And she's going to be making bangles as opposed to the ring, so at a slightly extra cost, because there is a lot more silver involved. It is possible to make bangles as well, the process being exactly the same.
Well, thanks very much, Fi. That was fascinating. The workshops are fairly popular, I presume, all year round, or specifically towards
Yeah, they
Christmas?
tend to be popular all year round. So, I mean, obviously, if you're wanting to make something now before Christmas, I'm running a workshop on the 24th, but you know, if you want to get it before Christmas, then like in the lost wax, then it would be difficult to get a piece made before Christmas and have it back. The caster, he's off for a couple of weeks at Christmas time, but it's a really good Christmas present, you know, either one, and they cost the same, so they're interchangeable. You know, if you wanted to book one and you changed your mind, I'd be very happy to you know, take you on a.
And certainly, if people are interested, then the Lost Wax and Stacking Rings workshops, as you can see there, if you use the discount code Xmas23 on fitilbury.com when you're booking, then you will achieve a 10% discount on 2 places, which is a nice thing to do with another member of the family as well, I think, as particularly in some of the stories you were saying about loved ones or as such.
Generally speaking, people come in pairs. For the stacking rings, I've had individuals come, and then what people sometimes progress on to do is the bezel setting. So if you really get the bug, you can then come and do a whole day with me making a ring and setting a stone. So that's the kind of next step from the stacking rings. It's possible I'm going to kind of have a rethink about the lost wax and like implement other courses as well as I go along, but this is the one that I do at the moment, and it is very popular. And it's also quite nice. I've had a group of up to 6, and you know, people that don't even know each other. You know, they get to know each other while they're kind of making their rings as well. I've had large groups of friends come as well, and they've really enjoyed it. I've had people come for 50th birthdays, or you know, that kind of a thing as well. So, you know, workshops, it's the way to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure people have got the idea that they've got the code there to make the most of the offer. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time, Fi. It's been a lovely evening chatting to you, going through these things. It's a shame we couldn't be doing it live like we promised everybody, but there you go. Such is live streaming.
Yes.
Is live streaming. Anyway, thanks very much indeed for your time.
Oh,
Bye
thank
now.
you. Thanks. Bye.